Hi, this is David Ruben. I'm the owner of Ruben Law Firm, Maryland Bankruptcy Center. I've been practicing bankruptcy law for 35 years, starting in 1991. Today what I'm going to do is go over the client questionnaire for you. This might seem like a strange thing to do. It might be a lengthy video, but I find that the best way to make the process as easy as possible for the clients is to me actually discuss with you the client questionnaire and give you a little insight as to why the client questionnaire for bankruptcy is actually asking you these questions, so that you have as much input in this situation as we do and you have a complete understanding of this process, or as much as you possibly can as you're going through the process. So when we initially speak on the phone regarding a bankruptcy, we're going to talk and figure out whether or not first bankruptcy is the right thing for you to do. If we determine it's the right thing for you to do, we're going to contact you with an email or schedule an appointment, and we're going to say what we need to do to move forward is for you to do the client questionnaire. What does that mean? The client questionnaire is going to be on the website. We're going to put it in an email to you, and you're going to fill it out for us. Now, I am in October of 2025 as I'm making this video for you now. The goal with the bankruptcy software and our website over the next couple years is to make everything fillable on the website or on your phone as easy as possible so that you don't have to do anything in writing. We're not there yet, and we're not there yet because the companies that provide the bankruptcy software for us are not quite there yet. There are some that do it, but they don't do it perfectly, and from our perspective, we want to make sure everything is done perfectly before we file a bankruptcy petition. So we're still asking that you do certain things by hand. So I'm going to go over this client questionnaire with you as briefly as I can. If you have any questions about it, there are certain people that have anxiety or high stress situations when they're filling this out. Just the fact that you're doing this is stressful for you, and we understand that. And there's certain things on here that can be confusing, and sometimes people will run into a problem, they won't answer a question, they're afraid to reach out to us, and they'll just put it down for 3 months, and we don't want that to happen. We want this video to help you with the process, but also know that if I'm not properly explaining something, or if you have questions, you can contact us by email or phone at any time, and we'll help you do it. So this is called the client questionnaire. It's basically information. It's nothing different than trying to give information to get a mortgage or to fill out paperwork for a car or a job application. It's giving us your personal information. We need all of your personal information, unfortunately, including your Social Security number, which is not shared with anybody, and it's secured portal online when we file, so don't worry about that. But we need your information so that we can properly prepare your bankruptcy petition. So the first page is saying full name, address, zip code, telephone number, email address, Social Security. It also has a space for your spouse. Are you filing jointly with your spouse? If you are, then you need to include your spouse's information. If you're not, you don't need to include your spouse's information. Now, if you are married, but you're not going to be filing with your spouse, we still need your spouse's pay information, but I'm going to get into that in a few minutes. But if it's an individual bankruptcy, and this, by the way, applies for Chapter 7 or 13, it's the same questions. I just need your information. Moving to the next page, instructions. We do our best in plain English to give you the instructions to answer this in the best way possible. The goal here is to make it as easy as possible for you, as easy as possible for us, and as accurate as possible, most importantly, because the goal is to file a bankruptcy petition that sails right through. I will tell you, 99.9% of our bankruptcy petitions sail right through. There's always exceptions, there's always reasons, there's always things that are going on that may cause a problem because that's real life. But the goal is to make it as easy as possible, and that's what I'm doing by going through this for you. We have questions here. Marital status. Why is it important? Because if you're married, they look at household income. If you're not married, they just look at your income. Real property. Do you own property? Do the best you can. I'll preface everything now. When you're going through this real property, when you're going through the personal property, all we're asking you to do is estimate. We are not asking you to give an exact value. There are some circumstances, for example, for real property where we need you to go out and get an appraisal. There might be a reason for that, and if there is, we'll tell you. But for the most part, you can look it up on Zillow. You can give me what you think the house is worth. You're doing the best you can with this information. You're not signing anything under oath that says this is the exact amount that my house is worth. You're doing the best you can, and I want you to keep that in mind as you go through this entire questionnaire. But we want as much information as possible. So for example, real property. We want to know what the address is. We want to know if there's any co-debtors. We want to know how much it's worth. We want to know how much you owe on the house. And to the extent that you can give us specific numbers, we want them. We don't need documents if you're giving us specific numbers for something like a mortgage or something like that, because the number is going to be on your credit report anyway. We want you to do the best you can and be as thorough as possible. We give you room if you have 2 houses. You'll tell us about your second house. The next part is your cars. We want to know about your cars. Sometimes people say, well, why do I have to list my car? I'm not getting rid of my car. I understand that. The key to a bankruptcy questionnaire is giving us all of your information. The United States trustee, when they're reviewing your file and when we're reviewing it, we have to know everything that you have. There may be reasons why it's important that you don't realize why it's important. And the only way you can get a bankruptcy through is to be as open and transparent and honest as possible. So if you have a car, you tell me about your car. Year, make, model, miles, estimated miles. If you want to go out to your vehicle and tell me exactly how much is in there, that's fine too. How much do you owe on it? Do you have to go online and find out? Do you have to pull your credit report and find out? Do you want to give me an estimate? That's okay at that point. I need that for all of your vehicles, even those that are paid off. But I don't want to lose my car. Nobody's saying you're going to lose your car. We just need this information. Presumably, we have already talked and gone over things. That's why I like to talk to people on the phone a lot and give free consultations so that I have an idea already that everything's going to be fine. But there's a check and balance after you prepare this questionnaire for me that we're going to review everything, the paralegal who prepares it, and then the lawyer who reviews it before it's filed to make sure that everything is the way it should be. And if it's not, we'll let you know. That rarely happens, but if it's not, we'll let you know. But my message to you is try to be as detailed as possible. Other personal property. People freak out about this section. Why are they asking me if I have a couch and how much my couch is worth? And how do I know how much my couch is worth? I understand. Who knows how much a couch is worth? The reason is because when you file bankruptcy, whether Chapter 7 or Chapter 13, you have to disclose all of your property. And 99% of the people who file don't have a lot of property, especially Chapter 7s. I might have some couches, I might have some desks, I might have some computers. I don't know how much they're worth. What I say to you, guess yard sale value. If I had a yard sale, how much would these things sell for? I put numbers down. Does that mean it's accurate? Not necessarily, because I haven't had a yard sale, or maybe somebody will pay me more or less for something. But you have the ability to give me an estimate of what your personal property is. And as long as that personal property number is lower than, let's say, $12,000, for example, total, you're good to go. But you give me accurate information and I'll take it from there. More importantly, people say, why are you asking me all these questions down below about pets and retirement accounts and life insurance policies and other vehicles? Why are you asking me all these questions? Do I really have to answer these? The answer is yes. Because what you're doing when you file bankruptcy is you're submitting paperwork to the bankruptcy court, which is part of the federal government, and you're doing it under oath. And aside from swearing that the information that you put in this petition is accurate, sometimes more importantly is you're swearing that there's no other information that you haven't provided. By saying that you only have one house or you don't have any houses at all, you're also swearing under oath that you don't have a rental property in Arizona where your name is on it with your father or something like that. Or, oh yeah, I have a gun collection that's worth $20,000 that's in the possession of my brother in another state. You're swearing that you don't have that stuff. Does this stuff ever rarely come back and bite people? No. But the point is, if you file this under oath and it comes back that you're not disclosing all your assets, somebody finds out for whatever reason, that's a problem. So you're telling us what you have, and almost as important, you're telling us what you don't have. We'll take the information and deal with it as you give it to us. Again, we've already talked to you. We know that everything's going to be okay with your bankruptcy. This is a formality, but it has to be in your writing. It has to come from you, and it has to be as accurate as possible. So as you're going through these things, you're answering questions. I need you to provide your tax returns. I'm going to ask you questions. If you haven't provided your tax returns, we're going to talk about why. We're going to encourage you to get your tax returns filed, but we need tax returns. Did you get a tax refund last year? Well, why is that important? Because if you did get a tax refund and you're expecting another one and it's going to be $50,000, then that's a big asset that you have. That's not the case, but that's why we're asking these questions. So again, you're going through this paperwork. Do you have unexpired leases? Yes, I rent a property and this is who I do it with. Do I have co-debtors? Yes. Why am I asking you this question? Because co-debtors are permitted and required to know that you're filing bankruptcy. So you have a credit card with your mom is entitled to know that you filed. You may not want that to happen, and maybe that's a reason that you don't want to file, but you have to answer these questions honestly and accurately. And then we get into income information. How much money do you make? Now, I'm not that concerned with you telling me the exact amount of money that you make, because honestly, most people don't know exactly how much money they make. When I talk to people on the phone, I say, how much do you make approximately per year or per hour, and how many hours a week do you work? And from that, I can kind of generally know. For you, I'm going to have a document video that explains what documents I need, but I'm going to get your pay stubs, and I'm going to get your proof of income. Whether it is a W-2 employee, whether you're 1099, whether you work for Uber, whether you receive your money from Zelle or Venmo, I'm going to get that information from you for the last 6 months, because that's what the laws require, and I'm going to figure out your income. So I don't want you to get stumped on knowing exactly how much money you make. Just do the best you can. And you do have to include income from all of your jobs, not just one of your jobs. You do have to include income from bonuses and commissions over the last 6 months. Some people say, well, last 6 months I made a ton of money, but I don't think I'm going to do that. Well, we just look at the last 6 months. We ask information about your spouse's income. Even if your spouse is not filing bankruptcy, we need your spouse's income. Why? Because we look at household income to determine whether or not you can do a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13. Sometimes spouses say, no, I'm not providing that information. I don't want this to affect my credit. What's the answer? It's not going to affect your spouse's credit. What you say to your spouse is, I understand what you're saying, I understand where you're coming from, but your Social Security number is not going to be used, you're not signing anything, you're not filing. This comes up all the time, and it's very reasonable. And people sometimes get a hard time from their spouses. Sometimes people don't want to tell their spouses that they're filing bankruptcy. But you need to provide your spouse's income if you're going to file bankruptcy. It's just a fact. These aren't things that we sometimes want to do or tell you to do. They're things that the law requires. So there's a huge benefit to filing Chapter 7 or Chapter 13 bankruptcy, but there are some downsides, and that's one of them. You've got to get your spouse's information. Further going through this, there's a portion for your monthly expenses. This is very important, whether it's for a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13. I'm asking you for exact numbers, if you can give me exact numbers. In other words, if you pay a rent payment and it's $1,355 a month, I want you to write $1,355 per month. If you pay $1,300 a month, say $1,300 a month. But what I'm saying is I don't want you to round up or round down if you don't have to with things like that. For example, a car payment. I pay $653 per month. Well, then write $653 per month instead of $600 per month. Because if you swear under oath that it's $600 a month, it's really not $600 a month. On the other hand, if I say to you, how much do you spend for your family on food? Well, obviously that changes every month. So you're going to give me an estimate. I spend $1,200 for a household of 4 for food per month, or $1,500. It would be ideal for you to go back through your bank statements or track your expenses and know closer numbers instead of completely guessing, but you do the best you can on these expenses. And the goal here is to be as accurate as possible with your average monthly expenses, knowing that things change on a monthly basis, knowing that sometimes there's no way to tell, knowing that the gas prices went up last month and things are going to change, knowing that I got $3,000 of repairs done to my house last month. This month I didn't do any, so what do I put on that? We estimate as best we can over a year. If there are questions that you have, you let us know. But one key thing I want to tell you, Don't underestimate. That's not what this is about. You're not looking better if you underestimate your monthly expenses. If you spend $600 a month on gasoline because you drive 45 minutes to work every day and back and then drive yourself around or your kids around during the week, then you spend $600 a month on gasoline. If you spend this amount of money on copays or therapy or something like that, you need to be accurate about it, because oftentimes those are the reasons why you're in this situation, but you don't realize it. Don't feel like anybody's going to judge you. As long as the information is accurate, that's fine. Now, if you have a car payment that's $1,100 a month, you're going to tell me your car payment's $1,100 a month. But I might say, well, maybe you can't file Chapter 7 because that's a pretty high car payment, and maybe you can unload that car. That rarely happens, but what I'm getting at is be as accurate as you possibly can. That's all we ask for. So you go through your monthly expenses, you ask me questions along the way if you have any, you give me your information about your taxes, and then there's just a whole bunch of questions that we ask toward the end of the questionnaire. Have you paid any debt back in the last year of $600 or more to family, friends, or partners? Why? Because we're not allowed to give away property right before we file bankruptcy. If you're a credit card company and you're saying, hey, I can't afford to pay you, but I look at your bank statement and you paid your grandmother back a loan for $3,000 2 months ago, that's an issue. That's why we're asking you that question. Have you transferred or given away any property? Did you have a house in your name 6 months ago and then you decided to file bankruptcy and you transferred your house to your brother? A lot of people say that. Well, I have this house worth a lot of money. Can't I just give it away to my brother? Well, yeah, you can. That's not illegal, but in the bankruptcy world, you can't do that, because if you look at it from the perspective of a creditor, no, that's not fair. That's a fraudulent transfer in the bankruptcy world. Again, you're not doing anything wrong if you do that, but you're also not going to get the bankruptcy relief that you're seeking. So be careful about things that you do. I mean, at the point that you're reading this, I can't change the past, but moving forward, when you see these questions, there's reasons why you're answering these questions. And all I can tell you to do is be as accurate and truthful as possible. Because if you're not, and somebody finds out you're not being truthful, that could lead to your bankruptcy being denied or some other bad consequences that you do not want to deal with. You answer all these questions, and even on the back, I ask some questions to ask more than once, because I want to make sure we get these questions. There are certain questions that people gloss over or they don't answer properly, and so therefore at the end I ask some more questions. Have you ever filed bankruptcy before? Not just in Maryland, but any other state. Some people say no. We run a check to see whether you have, but I want you to answer these questions for you. Has anyone filed a lawsuit against you? Yeah, I have. Sometimes it takes people jogging their memories. I want to stop a garnishment. Do you have any claims that you can make against someone else? Oh yeah, I do. I didn't write it down there, but I actually was in a car accident about 2 years ago, and I have a lawyer. Okay, well, how much are you going to receive for that lawsuit? Well, I don't know. Well, maybe $50,000. Well, that's an issue. Now, it's probably exempt and it won't matter, but the point is, answer all the questions, be as honest as possible. And when we get this filled out questionnaire from you, we're going to take it, put it into the computer program, go over it line by line, and we'll reach out to you if you have any questions. The more accurate and truthful you are, the quicker you get it back to us, the easier the bankruptcy will be, the smoother it will go, the faster you'll be able to eliminate your debts and rebuild your credit. If you have any questions about the questionnaire or anything else regarding bankruptcy, feel free to reach out to us.